There are certain people whose lives and careers have developed a mythos, a lore of sorts. These are often artists, people who leave a mark on the world with paintings, stories, and songs. From Homer to Shakespeare to Elvis, these monolithic creatives make art that serves as landmarks in history. Their art fascinates us, but we are often equally fascinated by the artists themselves. Who they are, how they lived, and what they did is just as much a matter of interest as what they made.
She might not be the modern-day Shakespeare, but there is someone whose art and life are both of incredible interest to hundreds of thousands of people in our modern age. The superstar singer-songwriter Taylor Swift. In the nearly 2 decades since she began her career, she's won 12 Grammy Awards, 49 of her songs have gone platinum. Average attendance for shows in her most recent tour was 73,000. She's broken 101 Guinness World Records, and her net worth has risen to almost $800 million.
But maybe the most unique thing Taylor Swift has done in the last few years is to re-release almost every single one of her previous albums, starting with her sophomore album, Fearless, all the way up to her most recent drop, 1989. Each album is given the moniker Taylor's version. The albums aren't anniversary editions or remixes, and despite a few extra songs that were written during the time of the first release, they have the exact same songs as the originals. The difference? Taylor is re-recording every single word.
Why is Taylor doing this? The original versions of the album still exist after all. The reason is maybe more complicated than you might expect, and to find it, we need to rewind back to her beginnings. At age 14, Taylor Swift signed with Big Machine Records, and under that label, released 6 albums. The first 4 albums took her from a small-time country singer to a pretty well-recognized name.
But it was her 5th album, 1989, that catapulted her into superstar status. Her single, Shake It Off, immediately topped the Billboard Hot 100 and was only knocked from the throne by her next single, Blank Space.
But as successful as she was, not everything was perfect. Taylor's talent manager, Scooter Braun, and Big Machine Records had rights to all the masters, or original recordings, of Taylor's songs. She'd finished her contract with Big Machine after the release of her 6th album, Reputation, and signed a new one with Universal Music Group.
Scooter Braun and Big Machine weren't thrilled about losing the biggest pop star currently making music, and the many, many millions of dollars that came along with signing her. So they told Taylor she could have her masters back only if she signed with them again.
Not only was this a pretty underhanded offer, but it had the potential to seriously stall Taylor's career. Not having the rights to her masters meant she couldn't use her songs in any situation where she would earn a profit from the original tracks.
Copyright law is pretty convoluted, but the long and the short of it is this. The situation made it much more difficult and much thornier for Taylor to use her old music.
So this served as Taylor's incentive to re-record and re-release her early albums. These Taylor's version albums serve as a way for Taylor Swift to regain control over her songs, but there's also something deeper, more cultural at play.
Taylor Swift has always been a celebrity that people relate to, and it's no secret that she has a devoted fan base who look up to her like a big sister. The release of 1989, Taylor's version, has provided a way for these Swifties to look back on not only what the original album release meant to them then, but where Taylor's version finds them now.
All over TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter, Swifties are sharing memories of begging their moms for tickets to the original 1989 tour, some more successfully than others, dancing around with their friends singing Shake It Off, or realizing that the thrill of getting the original CD release hasn't dimmed in the last 9 years.
Maybe there's something to be learned from Taylor Swift and her fans. There's something really meaningful about looking back at where we were and remembering where we are now. When we remember the things that have happened to us, it can be easy to focus on the bad stuff. But remembering how beautiful life can be can give us hope that even if things are bad now, good days will come again.
There's a line in the 18th century hymn, Come Thou Fount of Every Blessing, that says this: "Here I raise my Ebenezer, hither by thy help I've come." Maybe the first thing that comes to mind when we hear the word Ebenezer is a certain Scrooge.
A goose for everyone!
It's Ebenezer Scrooge!
Yes!
but it's actually a reference to Ebenezer, a place in the Bible where the prophet Samuel built a pile of stones to commemorate a specific time when God was faithful and demonstrated his care for his people, to remind them when they forgot.
And Samuel wasn't the only person who needed reminders. Throughout the entirety of the Bible, the followers of God often struggled with remembering how God had been faithful to them in the past, and so they struggled to believe that he would be faithful in the present or in the future.
Raising an Ebenezer means taking the time to mark and remember something good that God has done, giving ourselves something to look at when life seems overwhelmingly painful. When days are dark and it feels like there's no end to the suffering we're living with, an Ebenezer reminds us that the sun shone on us once and it will again. God was good and God is constant, so God will show us his goodness again. The hurts of life, no matter how deep, are temporary, but the faithfulness of God will stand forever.
Returning to Taylor Swift, if there's one thing the re-release of 1989 does, it's celebrate. From the album artwork to the last song, there's something so joyful about the way Taylor marks this milestone. The words are the same, but the happiness is new.
There are lots of ways we can see the wonderful things in life and hold on to them, and a big one is celebrating good things when they come along. If the hard stuff feels big, let the good stuff be bigger. Sing the same songs years later, and sing them louder. Thanks for watching this 7-minute video. Here are some questions that could inspire some conversations about Taylor Swift and God's faithfulness. What do you think about Taylor re-releasing her albums? What kind of impact are Taylor's versions having on culture? What does raising an Ebenezer mean to you?